One other thing that happened, I believe yesterday, is we have a new card that people have been talking about from Legacy of Destruction, which is the core set after Phantom Nightmare. And this card looks promising. I've already seen it yesterday, and I wanted to go over it with you together, even though I have already seen it. The card is called Metaltronios, or Metaltronios. It's a quick play spell card. And when I looked at it, I was like, okay, this is some Zephyra Ritual Beast support kind of thing, but then it's actually quite generic. It says, target one face-up non-token monster your opponent controls. Special summon a monster that has 2 or more of the same type, attribute, and or attack from your hand, deck, or extra deck, but its effects are negated. And if you do, negate the targeted monster's effects. Then, if those 2 monsters have the same name, you can banish both face down. Your opponent cannot activate the targeted monster's effect in response to this card's activation. The more I think about this card, the better it gets. I think this card is very, very interesting. It's one of those generic cards that could shape up to be like another like meta non-engine card, right? Like it's like I think this card could have like kind of droplets kind of levels of impact on the game. So the way this card works is, I think, very interesting, because you have a lot of possibilities. So same type, attribute, and or attack, and you need to do 2 out of those 3 things. And if you summon a monster with the exact same name, then you banish both face down. But the important part is that your opponent can't chain the activated monster's effects. So something like, you can target a Baron going second, right? You can target a Baron going second, and then you can summon a Baron from your extra deck, and then you have the choice to banish both face down. You can do the same with an SP, for example. But it doesn't, like, if your opponent has an SP Little Knight, for example, you can just activate this, and then summon a Dark Warrior from your deck, and then just not banish, right? You're not gonna banish. You're just gonna negate their SP and emergency teleport a Dark Warrior, for example, right? And I think for a lot of different end board pieces in the game, you can probably find good targets for this card, right? Like you can, for example, this card outs every single end board monster in the game. If you think about it, it outs Savage, it outs Baron, it outs Little Knight, it outs Appaloosa, whatever. As long as you have a fitting monster in your deck or extra deck, you can just use it as like a quick play imperm plus extender kind of thing. And the reason why I think this is good is that it's a quick play spell, so you can like even set it. You can even set it and do it on your opponent's turn. And it's especially broken in like mirror matches. I think it's a good card. It does target, although I don't think targeting is that big of a deal. I don't know why you make this out to be such a big deal that it targets. I don't think that's a big deal at all. Most things are targetable these days. You know, Sprite Elf is banned in the TCG for a long time. I don't have an issue with it that it targets, you know. I just think this is a very good overall card that is good going first and second if you have enough, like, you know, cards with the right types and attributes in your deck, right? Like, and this card can do so many different things. You know, it can be removal if your opponent has a card from the extra deck that you also play. But it can just be, you can use this as an imperm. For example, if your opponent normal summons a monster and you happen to have a monster in your deck that has the same type and attack, or same type and attribute, or same attribute and attack, or whatever combination, right? This is just an imperm and teleport on top, right? So I think it's a good card. I'm looking forward to it, because it's not one of those cards where it's not obviously broken. It's not just insanely strong for no reason. It's an interesting card because it's super interactive, right? It depends on what your opponent plays. It depends on what your deck has. It's good going first, good going second in certain scenarios. I like the design on this card. Whether it's going to be main deckable or more like a cross-out designator that you side deck in the mirror matches, I don't know, right? could be either of these, but I think it's definitely a good card that might end up shaping up the game a little bit once it releases. I like it. I like the design. I think it's cool.